Fandango faithful, this is the part that I've been waiting to talk about because Mark's got all these great stories. But like I said, that man was my first initial contact with everything Fandango. So, and I obviously was not in the car with him and Kevin Reynolds. So, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So there's many stages in the getting a movie made, but obviously casting is one of them. But we'd already done a lot of casting, and I can tell you stories of casting. Obviously, as you all can tell if you listened earlier, when we were casting in Los Angeles at one point, a young actor walked in. We looked at him and said, "Wait a minute, do we know you?" He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Didn't you come in and read for us when we were students?" And the young actor goes, I came over to you guys when you were USC, but you guys didn't give me the part." And we said, "Yeah, audition." And he auditioned. He did a great job. And we said, "We would like you in the movie." That's Kevin Costner.
It's a great story.
We had known Kevin Costner, auditioned as a student, not get the part, auditioned again when we were making it for real, got the part. So when we say it's an early movie of Costner's, he had made another movie before Fandango. I've forgotten the name of that one.
Stacy's Night.
He'd actually auditioned for us before he had done anything. But we literally had known him way to the very beginning. Now we're trying to cast the movie, and you're putting it together, and you're putting it together, and putting it together. We're getting a lot of people that we're really, really happy with, and we're getting a lot of parts. It's coming together really, really well. There was one part we couldn't find. Kevin Reynolds, I love Kevin Reynolds. And one of the things I love about Kevin Reynolds, he's stubborn. He knows what he wants, and he wants what he wants, and he wants to get what he wants. But he's not stubborn in a bad way. I mean, I love him. He's a great guy, but he knows what he wants.
Yeah.
We could not find Norman. Norman was something specific we were looking for. We wanted a mountain. We wanted a man who, when you look at him, he's like Samson. You believed he had amazing power, but he was supposed to be unbelievably gentle. He was supposed to be this gentle giant. Strength, all the strength in the world. You see him in the movie. You know, he's reading books. He's very quiet. He's very soft spoken. He hardly says anything. Literally, you could crash a train into him. The train would come out for worse for wear. Now, believe it or not, we were having an extremely difficult time finding this part because casting directors would bring in sometimes comedians. And they thought what we were looking for was kind of a fat person. Nothing wrong with fat people, but you don't always think of power when you see them. And there's many really roly-poly, very fat things. You don't think of power. So we were having a really hard time. And now we're coming all the way to Texas. Now we're in pre-production. He's in the whole movie. In the whole movie. And we hadn't cast him yet. We had gotten to the point where we were handing out flyers at UT Austin. We were handing out flyers trying to cast from the university. And we were still flying people in, and Kevin wasn't done yet. Then one night, if I remember right, I think it was about a week before shooting, so it's getting really close.
Yeah.
About a week before shooting, Kevin and I are driving back from dinner. And as we're driving down the road, I look across the street at a 7-Eleven gas station, and there's this large van. It was some sort of large American-made van was parked, and I saw this guy getting out of the van. And, you know, vans are large vehicles, so it's sometimes hard to know how big the person is. I looked at him and went, Kevin, look at that guy. What, we got to stop. I got to go talk. And Kevin's like, sure, let's stop. I pulled into the parking lot, and I climb out, and I got to go ask this guy. And I walked up. It's now reminded me of it. What happened was, as Chuck remembers it even better than I literally just walked up. Chuck is in there getting, I think, a Diet Coke and some Doritos or Cheetos or something like that. You gotta remember what was going on in Chuck's life. He was just living life. He needed a snack. And for some reason, at that exact minute, not 5 minutes earlier, not 5 minutes later, at that exact minute, he decided to pull into a parking lot and get out of a car. And what he thought was going to happen with the rest of his life was he's going to buy these Cheetos and this Diet Coke from the cash register, and he's going to go home. Instead, this stranger, me, and I was probably maybe 24 at the time. I'm not sure how old. I don't remember my age at the time. Probably about 24. I walked straight up to him and I said, hey, want to be in a movie?
You did.
That's weird.
He did.
If I remember, I quickly tried to not sound like a weird pervert. But I think I quickly said, we're down the road in a hotel. I'm sure we're totally legitimate. I don't think I had a business card on me or anything like that. I said, we're totally legitimate. We're down the road. And I think I remember Chuck going, yeah, I've seen your trucks parked down there. Yeah, that's us. That's us. Would you be interested being in a movie? I think very Dorman-like fashion, he probably just kind of looked at me and was like, yeah, I think I could do that. Now, I'm going to let Chuck here kind of recall just for a moment the rest of it, because we walked from the way Chuck just reminded me, we walked outside.
Yeah.
Kevin Reynolds gets out of the car. We come up and we start talking to him. We give him some more details. Kevin explains a little bit more what we're looking for. And from what I remember, he came down the next day. Now, Chuck, you want to tell the story about how we described the character to you?
Sure. Well, it was pretty funny because you did walk up and say, how would you like to be in a movie? And so
I want to do a quick interruption.
Sure.
Quick interruption is, so as I've just told you, we were looking for a guy that was powerful. I mean, a guy who was big. And I distinctly remember, I'm 6'4". At the time, I probably weighed about 220 pounds, okay? I'm not a short guy. And I remember walking up the truck in the aisle of the 7-Eleven, and as soon as I got close to him, first thing I thought was, oh, wow, he is way bigger than me. And I was really like, oh, my God, he's really big. I remember going to shake his hand, and I remember looking down. He, like, dwarfed my hand, and I just stopped and went, in my brain, I'm going, this is Dorman. Oh, my God, this is Dorman. I can't believe it. And I remember walking out to Kevin going, this guy's Dorman. We got to talk him into this. This guy is perfect. So now Chuck can tell you the rest. I just had to let people know who have never met you. They see the movie.
Yeah.
What you see in the movie, when you stand next to that, he is like power in a man. He was like chiseled out of a mountain. He was awesome. So it was my impression. I was so taken by you. The moment I saw you, I was really taken by you.
Wow, Mark, thanks, man. And by the way, the check is in the mail. I appreciate the endorsement.
After you tell the story, I'm going to make a little note. Go ahead.
Okay. So he says, how'd you like to be in a movie? And I said, well, give me a second, because my Doberman was in my van, and but the window was down so she could breathe. It was probably 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I didn't want her to jump out of the van and hang herself. So I'm like, give me just a minute. Let me. So I went and checked out, and then we went outside and we talked some more. And after a few minutes is when Kevin Reynolds got out, and you, Mark, described the character to me as Dorman would be the kind of guy that if we were standing next to it, I'll never forget, it was a white Ford Fairlane next to us, and I'm in my van behind us, and you said he'd be the kind of guy that if there was an ant crawling on the top of this car, what he would do is he'd put his thumb down, not to kill the ant, but just to see it, where it would walk around, and try to see where the ant would move every time he put his, was go to the left or to go to the right. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so, I said, how long have we gone? Well, 5 to 7 weeks. I said, and my response to that was, I think I can evaporate for 7 weeks, And, of course, by then Kevin had come out of the car and said, why don't you come down to the hotel? We're staying, come down to the hotel tomorrow and read for us. And I was like, cool. And then the funny thing, this was April 3rd, 1983 was the day. And I went home from there and I called my parents on the phone because I was 21. And I just said, hey, you'll never believe this. These guys just asked me to be in a movie. And my folks were like, okay, you know what? It's 11 o'clock at night. It's a little late for April Fool's jokes. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. This really just happened. I'm going to go see these guys tomorrow. And so then Mark, you guys got in the car, and then.
No, and then real quick, tell me, what was the audition like the next day?
The audition was interesting because I went in and sat down. I met Joe Doster, who was Atmosphere Casting, sweet lady. Right. And I went in, and they gave me sides, which I didn't know at the time what sides were. Sides are pieces of the script. And it was the speech on Dom Rock. I have studied many times the marble which was chiseled for me. And so they said, here, read this. And so I looked at it for a few minutes. And Tim Zinnemann, who was the producer, and Kevin Reynolds came in. And they said, just read it. And, being kind of the Ferdinand the Bull kind of guy I understood how to read poetry. I understood meter. And so I started reading. And when I was done, I just looked up and they said, "We want you to play the role." Just that fast. And go ahead.
You have to do auditions. I'm telling you, would have been the moment met Kevin in the parking lot of the 7-Eleven. Was done.
Well,
I'm telling you, because Kevin would have taken your spirit. He would have figured out how to get you to do line.
No.
It was your embodiment of who you were. You were literally what we wanted. A gentle soul and a mountain of a man done.
Man.
I bet you. I have never asked Kevin. I've never asked Kevin. Oh, so what? Tell us. Have you shared the rest of this experience already with your fans? Of what happened? I mean, so a week later you were shooting.
Yeah, a week later. Well, the next day they asked me to move into the hotel, and so I got into the hotel, and I had a 6-pack of Shiner beer from the crew. Welcome. I had a bottle of white wine and the usual things. But what happened the next few days was actually interesting. I don't think we've ever talked about this, Mark. Is Judd and Sam, more than Kevin partly, but Judd and Sam mostly, took me aside, and through just doing little things together, hanging out, were kind of drilling me and talking about acting. They were like, "Okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this," and it's like, "Can you do this and say it this way?" And just not really focusing on the script, but just on how to act. And that was crazy. Another fun story is the 2 days later I walked out of the hotel room, and these guys were down the hall playing BB guns, and they had these little air pump BB guns. And I walked in the hall, and Judd, or I don't remember who it was, Judd or Sam, I can't blame one or the other, shot me in the butt with a BB gun. I was like,
would have been either one of them.
Oh yeah. I'm like, oh no, So I went down to Target the next day and bought one of these compressed air BB guns, and went back to the hotel and put a beer can up on there and was poking holes in that BB in that can with that BB gun, and then I never got shot again, and it never happened again.
I got a question for you, Chuck. I'm gonna see what you think. So I've now worked on a lot of movies since. I'm sure you've worked on movies since.
Yeah.
There was something unique about Fandango.
Without a question.
Now,
Without a question.
I'm also going to describe you and I right now talking.
Yeah.
What people have to realize is you and I have only spoken for a day or so since the movie's been done. So this is 33 years?
Yes, 30, 35.
So I think 35 years. So I think the first time the first time I've spoken to you would have been 5 years ago when I showed up in an Ultimate Fandango.
Yes.
I had not spoken to you.
No.
30-something years.
Right.
Okay. And so there's a lot of people. I mean, that's a long time. What's very interesting is during the talking to get together for this video, Chuck will, he says hello or bye or whatever, speaking to me now, he uses the adjective brother. Hey, brother. I have a strange, really interesting bond with Chuck and everybody on this movie. And I think it's one of the things that you see come out on the movie.
Yeah.
It was a first for so many of us. So Chuck talks about how he got cast. That was a first for him. I had never worked on a feature film. I'd come directly out of film school. This had been my dream forever to work on a feature film. Kevin Reynolds, he had never made a feature film.
Wow.
He wanted to be a feature film director. This was going to be a big part for Kevin Costner. It was a first for so many of us. Mm-hmm. We were all relatively young. So I truly believe you not only see that energy in the movie, is why when I see Chuck now after 35 years, I go, "Hey, Chuck, how you doing?" And I go, "It's really nice to see you."
Yeah.
We have 35 years of complete separate lives, and we only knew each other for 3 months. Those are 3 months that shaped so much of the rest of my life that anyone involved in it they're my buddies for life.
Absolutely.
You were there during that.
Absolutely.
And I think I suddenly realized that when Chuck called me for this video, I suddenly went like, "Wow, it's really nice to see Chuck." And I went, "I only knew him for 3 months, or 4 months, or whatever the heck it was. It was like three or 4 months.
Yeah.
That's all I knew him in my life. When I see him, I go, it brings a smile to my face. Now, a lot of that's
Same
also
here.
Chuck's personality.
Yeah, well.
Some of that's Chuck's personality. Chuck's a very likable guy. It's also, he was there at a very crucial moment in my life.
Yes.
If you had, I'm sure when he speaks to Kevin Reynolds, he gets the same response.
Absolutely.
I bet you he gets the same response from Kevin Costner.
Absolutely.
And Kevin Costner's made a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Fandango is still going to be in a place in his heart.
Absolutely. Every time we
And
talk.
we all lived together.
Yes, we
This wasn't actors going home.
No, we did.
We lived together for months.
Yes.
The same hotels, same restaurants.
Yes.
So if you work on other movies, you see each other on the set, and then you go off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
We had nothing better to do. But
Nope.
we spent all of our time hanging out with each other.
Absolutely.